Welcome back, everybody. My name's Rachel, and this is my book club. So today I'm going to be giving you guys my TBR of short books that I want to try and finish before 2024 is over. It's the end of the year. It's time to cram in a few more books before the year is over. I have already reached and surpassed my reading goal for this year, which I'm really, really happy about. I am so lucky that I've had so much time to read this year, but I know a lot of people try to fit in a few more short books, so I have some that I've bought that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about. I'm not usually one to pick out like short kind of novella style books, and so this is also a chance for me to start reading kind of a different format that I wouldn't normally read. First up is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This book is tiny. This book is 166 pages, right? So first of all, how can one fit an impactful story in such a small amount of pages? I'm not really sure, but we're going to find out. Now, Veronica Roth, as you may know, is also the author of the Divergent series, and I loved that series. I did not read Hunger Games when I was like in middle school, but for me, Divergent was my Hunger Games. I loved that series, and you can trash on it all you want, but it's too late. I was 13, okay? And I loved that series, so I was really excited to see this book on the shelves. And not only that, but it has good reviews on the back from Leigh Bardugo, Holly Black, and Olive Blake, and I love all of those authors too. So I love Veronica Roth. I love a bunch of the authors on the back who have given this book good reviews, and it's only 166 pages, so I feel like nothing could go wrong. Pain is Demeter's calling. His family is one in a long line of hunters who sacrifice their souls to slay monsters. Now he's tasked with a deadly mission: find the legendary witch Baba Yaga. To reach her, Demeter must ally with the ones he's sworn to kill. Pain is Allah's inheritance. A fear-eating Zamora with little left to lose, Allah awaits death from the curse she carries. When Demeter offers her a cure in exchange for her help, she has no choice but to agree. Together they must fight against time and the wrath of the Chicago underworld, but Demeter's secrets and his true motives may be the thing that actually destroys them. So it sounds really intense. It's like an urban fantasy mythology kind of setting in Chicago, where you have these two monsters who are aligning together to find the witch Baba Yaga. And the premise sounds very cool. I really enjoy urban romance and kind of urban mythology. I think there's a lot of potential there to reinvent a lot of stories in an urban setting, and so I think it will be super cool. Again, it's really short, which always really gets me for some reason. Like, I just am really excited to see how that story unfolds in such a short amount of pages. But this book has good reviews. It has a beautiful cover. Look at this cover. Look at it. So if nothing else, it will look really good on my bookshelf. My second book is a memoir, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of great things about this book as well. At the age of 36, on the verge of completing a decade's worth of training as a neurosurgeon, Paul Kalanithi was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. One day he was a doctor treating the dying, and the next he was a patient struggling to live. And just like that, the future he and his wife had imagined evaporated. When Breath Becomes Air chronicles Kalanithi's transformation from a naive medical student possessed, as he wrote, by the question of what, given that all organisms die, makes a virtuous and meaningful life, into a neurosurgeon at Stanford working in the brain, the most critical place for human identity, and finally into a patient and new father confronting his own mortality. What makes life worth living in the face of death? What do you do when the future, no longer a ladder towards your goals in life, flattens out into a perpetual present? What does it mean to have a child, to nurture a new life as another fades away? These are some of the questions Kalanithi wrestles with in this profoundly moving, exquisitely observed memoir. Paul Kalanithi died in March 2015 while working on this book, yet his words live on as a guide and a gift to us all. I began to realize that coming face to face with my own mortality, in a sense, had changed nothing and everything, he wrote. 7 words from Samuel Beckett began to repeat in my head. I can't go on. I'll go on. When Breath Becomes Air is an unforgettable, life-affirming reflection on the challenge of facing death and on the relationship between doctor and patient from a brilliant writer who became both. So this memoir, which sounds like it will make me sob, is only 206 pages, and of course, the text is quite large, which is a bonus. And this book has been on my TBR for quite a while. I actually didn't realize that it was so short until I was looking for ideas for this video. And so I finally bought it so I could actually read it. And I'm very excited about it. It seems like it'll be a pretty quick read. I've heard nothing but raving reviews about how moving it is. And I have always loved a good memoir. There's something about reading other people's stories and kind of life lessons that they've learned that I think it's such a blessing to be able to read other people's stories and kind of see what they experienced. And I'm just excited to get a chance to read about his life. So I'm really excited. So there's that one, When Breath Becomes Air. It's only 206 pages. And book number 3 is Adam and Evie's Matchmaking Tour by Nora Wynn. This book came out in September of this year, so it's pretty new yet. This is the longest book that I have on this short books list. It's 304 pages. So 300 pages, we're starting to get into, what I would consider normal book length. But it feels short. Look at how skinny it is. Now, I put this book on my TBR because it sounds like a wonderfully lighthearted romance, which I love to have a good lighthearted romance in my mix of books. 2 stubborn hearts, 1 whirlwind adventure. Evie Lang's life is in shambles. On the heels of losing her beloved aunt, she's unceremoniously fired from her poetry professorship by her secret boyfriend. Lacking income and inspiration, she's stuck in Ohio with no idea how to move forward, until hope arrives in a surprising letter. Auntie Al left Evie her San Francisco row house, a place full of Evie's happiest memories. The catch? To inherit, she must go on a prearranged matchmaking tour in Vietnam. The last thing Evie wants is to spend time with a group of strangers looking for love, but she can't resist the chance to finally visit her family's native home. A world away, Adam Nguyen has a chip on his shoulder. He's working around the clock as CMO for his sister's elite matchmaking business, a job complicated by her insistence that he knows nothing about love. He's desperate to prove himself, so when she challenges him to join the inaugural tour, he reluctantly agrees. Adam thinks Evie is chaotic. Evie thinks Adam is uptight. But from the bustling streets of Ho Chi Minh City to the soaring waterfalls in Da Lat, they keep getting thrown together, their animosity charged with attraction, and they discover that true love may be out there if they are willing to take a leap. How could this go wrong? I love the idea of 2 people on a vacation away from home falling in love with each other. It sounds sweet, and it's only 304 pages. What could go wrong? My general attitude about short books is like, at least they're short, so I might as well try, right? And I think this one has also the lowest reviews of all 5 books on this list, if I remember correctly. But I don't care. It sounds like something I will like. Now, the last 2 books I want to talk about, I have read already. They were on my list for short books that I wanted to read, and I've read them because they were so short. It was surprisingly easy. So next up, book 4 is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This book is only 195 pages and came out in 2014. So this edition is actually the 10th anniversary edition, which I think this thing is crazy. This cover is crazy. But also I really like it. Area X has been cut off from the rest of the world for decades. Nature has reclaimed the last vestiges of human civilization. The first expedition returned with reports of a pristine, Edenic landscape. The second expedition ended in mass suicide. The third in a hail of gunfire as its members turned on one another. The members of the 11th expedition returned as shadows of their former selves, and within weeks, all had died of cancer. In Annihilation, the first volume of Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach trilogy, we joined the 12th expedition. The group is made up of 4 women, an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist, the de facto leader, and our narrator, a biologist. Their mission is to map the terrain, record all observations of their surroundings and of one another, and above all, avoid being contaminated by Area X itself. They arrive expecting the unexpected, and Area X delivers, but it's the surprises that came across the border with them and the secrets the expedition members are keeping from one another that change everything. Going into this book, I was thinking 195 pages, it sounds really cool and very intense, but it's so short. How could one make such an impactful story in so few pages? But Jeff Vandermeer succeeds with flying colors. This book is insane. I will never forget this book. This book is largely a social commentary on climate change, written as a kind of sci-fi horror novel. It's hard to explain the writing. The writing is very poignant, and there is a lot of tools that Vandermeer uses to really get his point across in so few pages. One thing that we learn very early on is that no one ever learns each other's names. So the anthropologist is only ever referred to as the anthropologist. The psychologist is always the psychologist. And even our main character, we only ever know as the biologist. And we're mainly following the biologist as she's exploring this Area X, and it gets really creepy, actually. Very eerie and kind of horror-like. And this is so good. I didn't take any notes for this video, so if I sound like I'm babbling, I'm really sorry. Having read this book, instead of just guessing at how good it's going to be based off of that powerful blurb, I can just tell you that this book is so phenomenal. This is a very, very cool book. The ideas are super original. It is such a fun take on, I think the kind of social commentary with nature becoming wild again is something a lot of authors have shown in different works, but there's something about the kind of horror setting in this that is so cool. It's so cool. Like, what a neat read. And there's a couple of scenes and a couple of kind of this repetitive, what's known as like a religious verse kind of in this series. It's hard to explain, but it's so cool. I will never forget it. So there's that. So that is my fourth suggestion for short books, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And lastly, the fifth book on my short book TBR is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is one of those books that I feel like I just suddenly saw everywhere all the time. Like, out of nowhere, I just feel like everyone that I follow online was reading this. So of course, I had to read it. So this book is 213 pages long, and we are following a few different characters inside of this magical cafe where you can travel back in time. This book is split up into 4 stories, 4 different people who go back in time to try and change or affect their relationships in kind of facing the regrets that they have about people they care about. And it's interesting because the book itself, actually, I thought was pretty simple. I thought there was going to be a lot more to it going into it, but it was largely just like a very cozy and very sweet story about how we interact with the people we love and how we can change our relationships with the people that we love and care about. It was really sweet. Like, that's it. Like, this book is very simple, cozy, and nice to read. And so if you want something that doesn't pack a big punch but is enjoyable, this is a great choice for a short book. And there you have it. So these are my 5 short books that I have read or that are on my TBR for the rest of 2024. So thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to add me on Goodreads so I can see what you're reading, and I'll see y'all next time. That's it. It's gonna be good. We're calling it done. 18 minutes. That video is gonna be so short.